How's it going, ladies and bruisers? I'm Bobby Sixkilla. Welcome back to Sound of Drop. We are running in the second run through of the game, hopefully heading towards our true ending this time, after getting the good and bad endings of the last run. This is not starting off well, considering the character we're playing as a Sayo now. She's still kind of an arsehole, and the girl that we were making friends with apparently just killed herself. Let's carry on, shall we? It can only go up from here, let's be fair. She didn't crash into the ground, instead getting caught in a tree, with almost no injury, but it seems she won't wake up. The point of impact was probably pretty bad. There was also the possibility that she hit her head. Okay, so she's not dead. I hear that it wasn't a suicide. I've heard talk that it was because she tried to sit out on her balcony. That's hard to believe. All that's going around the school is the rumour that Minato took her own life. Being unable to wake up despite having no injuries, the rumour floating around the hospital is she lost her life energy, the thing that a person needs in order to keep on living. I wish that at least the doctors would refute such nonsense. It's only a matter of time before her mysterious jump becomes intertwined with the urban legends surrounding Manten Aquarium. Only the most sensational things with no basis in reality become part of the rumours. I don't have any desire to track down the whole truth, so as for me, the information I've gotten up till now on the subject is enough. Of course, it seems she won't be coming to school anymore. She isn't getting any visitors either. With nothing but unanswered questions, it seems I'm left with a bad aftertaste after all. It reminds me of the flavourless taste of club soda with no lemon in it. Sayo only ever seems to consider how everything affects her. She doesn't really give a shit about anyone else, except how everyone else's life affects her. That's her problem. That's why she sucks. On Friday night, despite all of this, I go to the coffee shop. Even though I know she won't come, I feel I should keep my end of the promise. After I wait for an hour, Minato doesn't come. After that, I head for Manten Aquarium alone, but it's a fruitless endeavour. I couldn't find the one spreading all the rumours after all. Sounds like Silky Strawberry is performing again tonight. I sit down at the furthest edge of the bar and put my drink to my lips. After the director, my father, passed away, my mother took custody of me. My mother divorced my father when I was still young. I don't know why they did it, but she probably had money issues with my business-consumed dreamer of a father. My mother lived with her parents, my grandparents. As the daughter of the man who divorced their daughter, I was seen as nothing more than a burden, and those days were lonely and sad. Not a single member of my family came to the day of my junior high entrance ceremony. When I came home, several days' worth of meals for me were in the refrigerator, with money for daily expenses, far more than a student would ever need, were left on the table. Back in those days, I hoped they still loved me, as they paid for me to attend an expensive private school. But I got my answer. The impression I got from the neighbours was the reason I was able to attend the private school was because of my father's insistence. On top of the desk was a memo pad with the words, "We'll be on a trip until next week," written on it, and money just left sitting there. Their car had also disappeared from the parking lot. My school wasn't in the area, so no one knew when my entrance ceremony was. Sending me to a school so far away was the same thing as my mother putting me out of sight, out of mind. That was fine with me. I came to the conclusion that the reason my father had custody of me was because my mother hadn't wanted me from the start. Then on their way home, they all died in an accident. My mother, grandparents, and also a young man that was with them. So my inheritance passed down to me. It was a struggle against my relatives to see who would get custody of me. When I saw the amount of my inheritance, I realised the divorce was so that my mother's family assets wouldn't be depleted by my father's debts. Rather than be sad, I looked to the future ahead. Using the name of some relative I didn't care for, I rented an apartment near the school I attended, and blowing through my inheritance, began living alone. Learning the full truth didn't sadden me. Instead, on the occasion of my father's passing, the feeling I had that I was always alone was reiterated for me once more. When I came back to the present, Silky Strawberry is about to perform. Before the first song finishes, I leave the club. Tonight's song resonates too heavily within my heart. On the way home, I'm reminded of when I walked to the station with Minato when I came here before. The lights of the town at night are so pretty. I realise I prefer walking alone. The moon isn't out tonight though. I remember that ridiculous rumour. Like that one day on the full moon, the water in the tanks turns to blood, or that fish with human faces swim about, or that those who get lost in the closed down deep sea fish booth never come home. Worthless stories written on the internet. Not caring where I heard it, I clicked my tongue in the centre of the road. The answer had been there from the start. The day that something would happen, that's... Several days later, I pay a visit to Manten Aquarium. I occasionally hear about Monato's condition, but there's apparently no change. Today being Sunday, the town is full of people, but Manten Aquarium is empty. Those rumours must have some influence to them. Surely after the incident with Monato, the rumour has gained even more credibility. Even without knowing the truth, somewhere subconsciously, it must seem plausible enough. Let's go. On the day of the full moon, I'm ready. Even if it means losing my life to the full moon, I will find the truth. Because there's nothing more I can lose. That's dark, Bean. Before she realized it, the girl was standing before an imposing door. The girl occasionally came to Manten Aquarium alone. She watched the manta rays, she watched the jellyfish, and finally, she decided it was time to go home. Where is this? She had her doubts, but there should be nothing else here except for the aquarium. She assured herself that she had probably wandered off into a side path. The door before her had a large padlock hanging from it. Just as she had heard, it was unlocked and merely dangling there. The girl drew in breath. Being locked would usually mean that it was the place that she shouldn't enter. Being open just meant that a staff member had forgotten to lock it, so going in was out of the question. Her curiosity piqued. She was past the point of persuasion. Her imagination ran wild, and her mind raced at the prospect of what might lie beyond the door. Just for a little bit. She opened the door and saw lots of glass tanks. Several types of fish hailing from the deep seas, from football fish to oarfish to pelican eels to barrel eyes were swimming about. Why isn't there an exhibit? Why isn't this an exhibit? She thought it over, wondering why this would be in a closed-off area. Behind her, the door shut on its own. The girls spaced out, staring at the deep-sea fish swimming about. They would leap from the tank and swim in mid-air. The entirety of the room was the fish in their ocean. That was an unnatural occurrence. The girl treated it as quite normal. Wasn't there originally a deep-sea fish booth that was shut down? Uh-oh. She suddenly remembered at that moment her surroundings were dyed a deep red. The water in the tanks, the fluorescent lights, all of it was red. The girl's vision also became red. When she opened her eyes, the girl was back in her own room. It was well into the night. She couldn't remember how she'd gotten home after all of that. But more importantly, she had a bad feeling about something else. It isn't red here. She became aware of how hard it was suddenly to breathe. No matter how hard she gasped, she was unable to get oxygen into her body. Like the fish, she couldn't breathe anywhere but in the water. She couldn't breathe unless she was inside that red colour. She was convinced. On impulse, she threw open the window, leaned out and thrust a hand outside. She couldn't inhale the wind flooding into her room. She could only smell its milky, unpleasant scent. More. At that moment, the girl's body was tossed in the air. For just a second, her body seemed to float like a fish in the sea. Her room was on the 12th floor of her apartment building. In her fading consciousness, the girl watched her blood flow endlessly from her body. It's red. Only then could she breathe. Now everything would be fine. The girl smiled. The full moon in the night sky smiled too. It's the drop. Drip. Drip. The sound of falling drops. The moon was concealed behind the clouds, and all the lights in town were covered in water. The sound of it, the only thing left to resonate. She couldn't tell whether it was hot or cold, merely that the humid air was encircling her. Drip. Drip. Wherever they were falling to, wherever they were coming from, the drops just continued to trickle out. The single drop. I stopped it with both hands. The sound of that solitary red drop. Oh, I remember this bit. So we're back to normal game again, are we? Can I skip then? I can skip! Okay, well I guess I'll bring you back. Okay, that's new. Last time we were here, we didn't have the option to say Kenji, calling his name. We had Shinji and Kanji, which I knew both were wrong. I just thought maybe they'd spelt kanji Kenji wrong with kanji, but now we can say Kenji, so I guess we should do that. Kenji-san. Having been called by his name, the hand reaching toward me slowly lowers. Though the hand clutching my leg doesn't loosen, it is correct to say that he has stopped. Kenji-san, it's alright now. I'm looking right at you. Does that mean we're going to have Hiyoshi on our side now? For some time, this serene period continues to permeate my entire being. Unable to relieve the tension, I stare at the suspended Hiyoshi-san. Is that so, big sister? Suddenly, the voice passes through my brain, piercing the silence. Then it just suddenly cuts off. What? That you? Mayu-chan? Kenji-san? Huh? Just now, for a second... Marty's voice, I start to say, then shut my mouth. I get the feeling her voice is reverberated down this passageway, but Marty was nowhere in sight. Maybe it's just an auditory hallucination, like the one from when we came in. A refreshed expression appears on Hiyoshi-san's face, as if a demon has been expelled from his body. Mayu-chan, what on earth? You don't remember anything? Don't remember? Remember what? Nothing, you just acted funny for a bit. Relieved that his voice has returned to normal, I tell him what happened over the last several minutes. Of course, I take the edge off some of the frightening things Hiyoshi-san had blurted out. It isn't that I still don't feel wary about him, but at any rate, what had happened wasn't the norm. I come to an agreement with myself that the version of him I had saved is a separate person. I think that's fair. What are you saying? Anyway, sorry wouldn't be enough, Mayu-chan. I've hurt you, haven't I? Well, I'm sorry, I really am so sorry. All I can do now is apologize. No, that's not... Could you let go of my leg? Huh? Oh, sorry, I completely forgot. Arching his eyebrows upwards, Hiyoshi-san releases my leg. He probably stayed unaware of it because of concentrating on what I was telling him that he had done. I thought him a light-hearted person, but he is definitely earnestly taking in what he'd done. Watching him as he bites down on his bottom lip so hard it bleeds, I decide to believe in his honest nature. I take a breath and rise to my feet, calling out to him as he remains with his head down. Are you alright now? My body still feels stiff. Do you think you can stand? Somehow, yeah. Ugh. Resting his hands on his knees, he pulls his large body up. Huh? Again? A girl's voice echoes in my mind, a voice that whispered to me here in the aquarium, my little sister's voice. Almost in time with my frustration, Hiyoshi-san grimaces once again. Crap, my head. Hiyoshi-san? I have no time to worry about Marty. Having stood up almost halfway, Hiyoshi-san crumples as if his strings had been cut, tumbling to the floor of the passageway. I rush over to him, grabbing him by the shoulders instinctively. Don't worry. Huh? It's not unthinkable that I might revert to the way I was earlier, right? If I do, leave me. Go on. But you don't need to worry. I'll be fine. Crawling across the floor, Hiyoshi-san rests himself against a wall. Gripping his head with one large hand, he turns to me with a pained expression. He's sweating profusely and struggling for air, taking deep breaths. Despite the state he's in, the corner of his mouth twitch up with a Aren't you going to look for your friend? I'll follow you later on, so just go. But, go! His bellow drowns out even my own breathing, reverberating down the passageway. For some time after he closes his mouth, the air seems to quiver. However, I don't find him, or his sudden outburst frightening. Hiyoshi-san. It hurts that I caused you pain, Mayu-chan. You don't need to worry. If I rest a bit, I'll be fine, so... I understand, are you sure? On my own, it's been nothing but frightening experiences. As he closes his eyes, he gives me a thumbs up. His haggard breathing continues as he deals with his own impending madness. He's trying to tough it out, so that he doesn't hurt me again, creating puddles of sweat on the floor. He's seriously worried about me. Therefore, I also need to seriously trust him, no matter how many times I want to look back, and I fight off the impulse, and, at a quick pace I'm not used to, I put the passageway behind me. Does that mean we're back to skipping? I guess I'll check. As soon as the door is between us, I put my ear against it and listen to the sounds in the passageway I just left. However, it's only my own violent pulse and not Hiyoshi-san's breathing that I can hear. He was in a strange state. My mother had once had a high fever, but Hiyoshi-san seemed like he was suffering, even more than that. In spite of the circumstances, he had pushed me to go. Since I was worried about Himeno, he was giving my situation priority. I'll come back, no matter what. I muttered to no one in particular. That's right, this is... I opened the door cautiously, peering in through the crack. With no hint of a person in the darkness, I opened the door all the way. Huh? No one's here. There are no signs of human life, just the sound of machine engines going whir, whir, echoing. The grey tone of the walls contrasted with the pale glow of the fluorescent lights is eerie. A bit of a loss, I decided to head back to the stage. Even though he could move, he didn't come to the stage for some reason. I can think of several reasons, like that his physical condition deteriorated, or that he'd gone crazy. In the end, the fact that he decided not to join me remains the same. Kiyoshi-san. He'd urged me to keep going. Not being able to see him has me worried, but I'll keep moving. What breaks through my bewilderment is something reminiscent of a man's voice. Looking up, I breathe a sigh of relief at the words piercing through as I'm lifted up in sync with the voice bellowing, "Let's go." The sensation is different from floating, more like my body is being pushed up. I hear the voice from below saying, "Oof," just as I'm about to hit the ceiling, and I place my hands against it. There should be a handle above you. If you pull that, a ladder will come out. Right. I look down to give my reply and finally confirm the voice's owner. He's got a firm grip on the left and right side of my hips, raising me several meters in the air. It gives me a stable feeling of a father sitting a child on his shoulders, not letting me slip. Kenshi-san. It's fine, just open the door. Alright. From there you can pass through the passageway above and go to the other side of the tank. I got it. If you don't hurry, that girl will die. Right. I slide my hands across the ceiling, searching for any bumps or grooves. I find something sooner than I expected, and give a good pull on that bump. With a clatter, the ladder on the other side of the door swings down, and I reach for it before it drops all the way. I've got this. Alright, I'll be there in a bit. Inside the ceiling there's a passageway. I have to crouch down to walk through. To the left and right of me are machines with meters attached. Surely they regulate the booth below. After 10 meters, I've come far enough to have passed the barrier between myself and the two girls. Still bent over, I quickly move on and push open the door at my feet. Kick it in! The "it" Kenji-san is referring to is the metal grating serving as an exit. Twisting my body inside the narrow passageway, I kick downward with all my might as he told me to. With a loud clang, it falls to the ground inside the Fish of the World booth. What? I can immediately see Sagi no Mureko shaken by the wire mesh that just fell. She takes a step back from the girl. I jump down following the momentum of my kick. It's far from a clean landing, but at least I don't hurt my leg. As I straighten myself up, Kenji-san follows behind me. As she becomes aware of a third intruder, Sagi no Mureko takes several more steps, putting distance between us. Ignoring her, I rush to the girl's side. Are you okay? The girl is lying down with her eyes closed, having lost a great deal of blood. Those blank eyes I saw from the other side of the acrylic window are now shut. I place my hand in her chest, trying to find a pulse. I can hear it. The sound itself seems to be very quiet. Still, within her soft breast, the resonating vibration is definitely reaching the palm of my hand. This is where she died last time, so we can save her now. As if in response to my voice, I can hear the girl click her tongue in annoyance. She doesn't seem to have regained consciousness yet, but there's no mistake that she's showing her emotions. And she's even a dick when she's unconscious. Even though I know she's alive now, I still can't lose focus. I listen carefully to the conversation Sagi no Mureko and Kenji-san hold as they stand facing each other. Why are you here? Why are you here? Their words cut each other off, leaving only silence between the two of them. Do you know each other? Neither will answer my question. Kenji-san shoves Sagi no Mureko away. With his thick arms and large body, it takes little effort for him to throw her into a wall. Because you're here. Before she can straighten herself up, he grabs her by the collar and thrusts her into the wall with a great deal of force. Having slammed the back of her head against the wall, Sagi no Mureko begins to bleed, leaving traces of blood on the wall that look as if someone's dipped a cloth in red paint and scrubbed the wall with it. This is quite different from how it was when Sagi no Mureko was trying to kill the girl. Kenji-san, please help me. Treat this girl for now. He's most likely trying to protect us. Who knows when Sagi no Mureko, who sought to kill the girl without hesitation, will target me. Honestly, I'm afraid of her. I have a terrible gut feeling about her. Still, in this moment, Kenji-san seems to be acting completely out of rage. That's far more terrifying to me. Yeah, you're right, Mayu-chan. Kenji-san slowly straightens his hunched body over and turns back to me. Applying pressure to her head, Sagi no Mureko crawls along the floor, moving away from us. She seems to be quite shaken. I suppose that's not unreasonable. No, there's no way I can sympathize with her, but at the same time, I don't want it to go any further. What is that? As I watch Sagi no Mureko retreat, I sense that bad feeling once more. I quickly recognize what it is. A red, no, an almost black drop of light leaks from Saginu Moreiko's body. It doesn't quite act like blood. Drops are leaking from the wound on the back of her head as well as from her skin on her elbows and knees worn away from crawling on the ground. A drop of ominous light hovers before being absorbed by the aquarium. I feel as if I'm looking at something I shouldn't be. And that something that shouldn't be happening is. But it's the fact that she appears to be laughing when she leaves the room that bothers me more than anything else. I can't get distracted. Right now I have to save this girl. Giving this thought, the voice returns my focus. Even though I said we have to save her, I have no idea what to do at a time like this. At any rate, we have to stop the bleeding. Kenji-san takes a facial tissue from his pocket and wipes away some of the blood. Then he gently lifts her head and applies pressure to the wound with the tissue. He's pressing hard on her forehead. As the blood begins to dry, the original colour is indistinguishable, as it has become completely red. Well, it's very different now. So I guess from now on we're just reading. I can't imagine it going back to the original path at this point. Now we've got 2 extra people in our team. Having roughly wiped away some of the blood, he removes his outerwear that has blood on it. He folds the parka he removed in order to hide the blood and lays it on the ground like a pillow. His golden ring looks pretty with his black tank top. His tank top's not black. It's like red. There's nothing we can do but wait for now. Her wounds are pretty severe, but even with my own limited emergency treatment, it seems we made it in time, so I'm glad. Will she be okay? She took a really intense blow to the head, so she'll probably be in pain for a while. Her breathing is stabilized though, so she should be fine. Thank you so much, Kenji-san. Upon hearing his words, a sigh of relief slips from my lips. It's no big deal. More importantly, Mai-chan, you're calling me by my name now? Huh? Well, that's... I see. Well then. It's another blue one. But I think the blue ones might be more important for this ending, I don't know. That's because I thought it best. When he went crazy, I called him by his name while he was out of it. I thought that Kenji-san would get through to him more than Kiyoshi-san would. It was a subconscious change, but the desire I have to call him by his name has not changed. I respect you, Kenji-san. Not only did he save me, he saved the girl too. Rather than the version of him that changed so quickly, this trustworthy side of him leaves a much stronger impression. Since I rarely talk to adult males, or males at all, I'm not very good at it, but he seems to be strong and kind. Mayu-chan, is that a confession? What? Without recognizing Kenji-san's surprise attack, I turned my face away. So how about it? Come on, come on. I wasn't thinking about anything like that. That's so like you, isn't it, Mayu-chan? Just as I'm thinking I want to hurry up and get off this topic already, it's Kenji-san who changes the subject. So, Mayu-chan, this may not be the best time, but who is this girl? Kenji-san asks as he turns his face in the direction of the girl. The girl's eyes are closed, but her soft breathing continues. Her long hair is tied back, and her clothes are more punk than they are high fashion. She looks like she'd prefer a live music club over an aquarium. Her round eyes and soft outline somehow remind me of Marty's appearance. Actually, I don't know either. I met her after I came to this twisted version of Manten Aquarium. I pause for a moment to remember exactly how I met her, then continue speaking. Despite the fact that it hasn't been more than half a day since our meeting, this girl and I have struggled for our lives together. She poked pretty harshly to me when I saw Himeno. She spoke pretty harshly, whose body was under attack from parasites. After that, I saved her and she saved me. Together we researched the secrets of Manten Aquarium, including the fact that the director here was the victim of a murder. So then, you two know about the incident. Ignoring Kenji-san's suggestive tone, I continue talking about the girl. She wasn't planning to be with me to the end. She steeled herself saying, if I can learn the truth, then it's okay if I die, and resolved herself to end it on her own. Just as I thought that we may have reached an understanding, I was wrong. Surely she felt that she couldn't rely on me. If she hadn't called out to me, I wouldn't have risen up to save my best friend. Then this girl wanted to be by herself from the start. I hesitate for a moment, then nod. Mayu-chan, before you met up with me, you really experienced so much more than I could have imagined. You've come so very close to the truth. Your eyes have taken on such a strong colour. So, you did know something after all, Kenji-san? I didn't want to scare you by all this, by saying more than necessary. However, it seems I don't have to sugarcoat things anymore. Please tell me about earlier, your friend, Mayu-chan. What condition is Himeno-chan in right now? Himeno's entire body is currently being invaded by parasites. According to what Saginu Moreiko said, that breed doesn't normally feed off their host, but they seem to be attacking Himeno. But this girl said that if I can get Himeno and I out of Manten Aquarium, I might be able to save her, because of the threat of parasites only persists while we're inside Manten Aquarium. Yeah, I get it. This girl's pretty sharp. That story's half right, half wrong. Half? What do you mean by that? If you escape this Manten Aquarium, the threat of the parasites will disappear, but the curse itself will remain. Little by little, the life energy will be drained from her body, and she will weaken, until she succumbs and dies. Curse? Dies? So I can't save Himeno? I couldn't stop my voice from getting louder. Kenji-san doesn't make an angry face, but he does answer in a stern tone. Calm down and let me finish. This is important. Got it? I understand. I hold back my overexcitement as I wait for Kenji-san to continue speaking. This aquarium is a different dimension, created from the grudge of the murdered director and the numerous fish culled and killed here. Mai-chan, you probably remember hearing of it as a parallel world, but it is another world created from negative emotions, sorry. It's a world created within the framework of Manten Aquarium. Grudges and energy from souls, those are occult terms, right? There's definitely some power at work we cannot see. Even now science cannot prove exactly how our emotions are created, but the power from that is surely involved in the creation of this Manten Aquarium. I've decided to call it the Red Manten Aquarium. You and I, Himeno, and that girl there, all of us who have come here, are cursed. More accurately, we were lured here by wandering ghosts. When the Red Manten Aquarium was created, it wasn't just by the murdered fish, but the souls of everyone who died here. People who died here? In other words, I could have become one of them. I've been in danger of it so many times, even now the possibility is still very real. If I hadn't made it to this point, I may not have believed Kiyoshi-san's story. To borrow his words, having reunited in the Red Manten Aquarium, I could have seen it as a joke at first, and lost my life without realizing how serious things really were. Something is luring us here. It may only be one piece of a bigger grudge, but for now, let's refer to them as vengeful spirits. In order to maintain their existence, they need energy. Here, within the Red Manten Aquarium, they are constantly trying to supplement that energy. But what if we escape? They'll lose their energy supply. If that were to happen, then the life force of the living human, in other words, the soul, would become their energy. What remains in our bodies would only last about a month. For example, even if we were able to escape, it wouldn't just be Himeno, but all of us who would die within a month. And it's not just that, is it? Whatever it is might contradict everything you've said, Kenji-san. Could you mean that before our life energy is gone, we have to come back to Red Manten Aquarium, so that the things possessing us can take some more energy? Mai-chan, you're clever. Kenji-san says this with admiration, but he doesn't sound the least bit happy. Anyway, you're right, Mai-chan. You know when it is that we need to return, right? Full moon. The day of the full moon, so the rumor Himeno heard wasn't necessarily mistaken. On top of that, the cycle of the moon lasts for about 28 days, so by coming to the Red Manten Aquarium on the day of the full moon, we won't be killed by the curse. When there's a full moon or a new moon, the Earth, Moon and Sun are in conjunction, in a straight line. At that time, the moon's pull is at its strongest. You've heard that this is when the ebb and flow of the tides is greatest, right? Yes. Moreover, there are legends that say that the moon gives illuminating energy to things which normally go unseen. Whether it is to be believed or more scientifically sound idea of the moon's effect on magnetic pull, the point does stand that the path to the Red Manten Aquarium is inaccessible on the day of the new moon. What Yoshi-san is saying has plenty of guesswork to it, but it's enough to satisfy me. However, it's because of the satisfied feeling that more questions begin to rise. If we can reach the Red Manten Aquarium on the day of the full moon, wouldn't more people have reached it as well? Yet that isn't the case, right? The difference is probably related to fate. People who are tied to the Manten Aquarium, or to the victims of the Red Manten Aquarium, are lured in, as if they are guided by the moon's strengthening pull. I'm connected to Mari. This girl is connected to the director, her father. Himeno's connection is surely to someone pulled to the Red Manten Aquarium. Me. I think back on it, everyone has their own ties to Manten Aquarium. Kiyoshi-san also mentioned an old acquaintance he hadn't seen in some time. Kiyoshi-san and who? It's Saginuma, right? Saginuma Reiko, it's gotta be. I almost asked, but the words before they stop. I stopped the words before they come out. Back when he went crazy, he said a girl's name. Maybe it's better for me not to know. And I get the feeling that I don't want to know either. I bet Saginuma Reiko is actually his sister. Kenji-san, how do you know all of this? My experience and my deductions, also filling in gaps with the fragments of information you girls have given me, Mayu-chan. Kenji-san heaves a small sigh, then continues, well, your guesses so far have been on point, though I'm not trying Not just trying to maintain my life energy, but find a way to break the curse. That's why I've come back to the Red Manten Aquarium over and over again. This time I had no luck either, but in order to have a next time, we need to get Himeno-chan and escape quickly from the Red Manten Aquarium. And one more thing you should know, Mayu-chan. You should know the truth of the murder that took place in Manten Aquarium. The criminal who killed the director, Usagi no Mureko. Huh? That girl. She's probably the director's daughter. Her primary motive was to probably learn the truth. It was most likely because she found the truth that Usagi no Mureko tried to kill her. Putting it like that, perhaps there could be no greater motive for her almost being killed. Erasing her from this world, the ultimate method of shutting her up. On top of that, killing her inside the Red Manten Aquarium would mean no one would see it, and no evidence would be left. If she really is trying to kill that girl, that's completely unforgivable. She bashed her head against the fucking wall, of course she's trying to kill her. You can't be surprised by that, Christ. My anger is greater than my shock. A human killing even one person is a sin that can't be atoned for. Piling on other sins that conceal the first sin, repeating such a cycle ensures that a person has no future. I turn to Kenji-san and speak with a firm tone. Compared to the cool way he told me all of these facts, I'll probably come off as angry. I'm so sorry, I yelled even though you didn't do anything wrong, Kenji-san. After I say this, I realize that he probably purposefully withheld any expression of emotion while he was telling me the facts. That's the difference between an adult and a child. Remembering the way Kenji-san looked when he shoved Reiko-san, I empathized with how enraged he must have been feeling. It's fine. From this point on, we need to be calm and make our decisions based on facts, so it's better to vent your anger now. Kenji-san says this with a stern expression. I understand right away. What he's saying is important, so I wait for him to continue. We should leave this girl here. That was not what I expected him to say. Huh? But that's... Even if you seem to have done what you could for her, her injuries still haven't healed. If we leave her, what will happen to her? Well, we went to all the trouble to rescue her. If that's how you feel, then why? Try to look at it from the other way around. At the very least, she's received first aid. I don't get it at all. If we saved her, then we should at least... There are two reasons. After hearing what you told me, would Himeno-chan really be able to walk on her own? With your physique, it would be impossible for you to take Himeno along and escape. You would definitely run into danger. The only one who would be able to run or jump with Himeno on their back is me. What if I had this girl ride piggyback on me? It's the same thing, surely. For example, if we were chased by something, you wouldn't be able to run, Mayu-chan. He says all this so curtly, I can't really argue with him. There's one more reason. Do you think this girl really wants to run away from the aquarium? That's... Mayu-chan, how much do you know about her? She's okay with dying if it means she can ascertain the truth. That kind of resolve isn't forged in a day. Surely this girl has been searching for a long time for the identity of her father's killer. She's finally found it. She might have been knocked down once, but I'm sure that she wants to face the killer once more. I don't know whether she wants some sort of remorse or some sort of public punishment, but having finally reached the truth, I doubt she wants to run away. If she really had decided to go it alone, she probably wouldn't have accepted the first aid that we did provide. In this girl's eyes, we've probably done more than enough. Kenji-san's tone of voice is steadily becoming more forceful. So we finally reached the heart of the matter. It's time for you to make a decision. I won't force you. Do you want to continue? Yes. Then let's go together. We leave this girl here, go back to where Himeno-chan is, and the three of us, myself, you and Himeno-chan, will escape together. 1 month from now, the three of us will have to return here, but I've figured how to get back in. I think it's a pretty reliable method. If the day of the full moon passes, in other words, when this day ends, the door to the real world won't open again until the next full moon. We don't know how much longer Himeno-chan can last, so I think we should get out of here as quickly as possible. So basically, there's no time to think it over. Kenji-san nods silently. After a brief pause, he continues, don't think of it as abandoning her, but deciding based on what is most important to you. In other words, two choices have been presented to me. Just as Kenji-san says, I should decide based on what is precious to me. Alright, we should save. This is a big one. I mean, it's not even red, but I feel like that doesn't matter anymore. In the first run, it seemed to matter, but in this one, I don't think it does. Let's just stay with her here. I'm going to stay here with this girl. She said she was fine by herself, but I want to be her friend. You just met her today and you don't even know her name, right? Kenji-san, didn't I just meet you today as well? Even so, you saved me. I think it's the same feeling I'm having now. It's not. Kenji-san murmurs this and immediately continues. I get it, Mayu-chan. If your determination is true, then I won't say anything further. Thank you very much. You can go ahead and think of me as cruel, but I also... There's no need to say anything else. You've come here numerous times just to stay alive, Kenji-san. I can't allow your efforts to be for nothing, just because you were looking after me. Please, at least tell me Let me tell you my selfish hope. Hope? That the three of us absolutely will escape together. I'm definitely coming next month too. This won't be the end of our relationship. I just went a different route this time. If you ever need me, don't be afraid to rely on me. Kenji-san, you really are kind after all. I'm alright. I'm not staying behind to die. I'm staying behind to save her. Don't lose that resolve. I definitely won't. And so Kenji-san puts the fish of the world booth behind him. Without looking back, he heads for the exit at a quick pace. I think his lack of attention is Kenji-san's own way of showing his concern. Wait for me, Himeno, Marty. I clasp the hand of the girl on the ground. The moment of upheaval behind us has been clearly separated from the destiny that lies ahead. I think I did it bad, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with getting some bad endings too. You know, adds a bit of flavour. It isn't that I chose to stay here because I don't care about what happens to Himeno. I remember the emotions I felt when I saved this girl from the underground tunnel. If I abandon someone right before my eyes who's in trouble, Himeno will be mad at me. Kenji-san didn't say I should abandon the girl to save Himeno, but in reality, there's no difference. Abandoning the girl is what that means. Even if I did save Himeno, if she'd heard such a thing, she would definitely be angry. Himeno can surely make such weighty decisions for herself. There's a thin line between that and cruelty. That's why Himeno wouldn't want me burdened with such a choice. I'm different from Himeno. I'm not as decisive as she is. We may argue, but if I'm honest, when looking into my own heart, this is why Himeno and I are friends. However, once I make a decision, I stick with it and believe in it. I said I want to save her because I felt that I wanted to be her friend. Upon giving those words voice, I can feel that they have power. I sit next to the girl at a comfortable position. On top of that, I haven't made up with Marty yet. Marty is definitely here inside this red Manten Aquarium. I can sense that if I don't solve all the mysteries here, I cannot return to a normal life. This is what the intuition rushing through me is telling me. My story? Ever since Marty went missing, each day seems to pass indistinctly. But each and every day I sought out Marty, submitting police reports, having the police continue their investigation. It became a small piece of news, but as it was unrelated to cases of bizarre murderers and kidnappers, it quickly stopped being a topic of conversation. It was about the time I moved to junior high, all of a sudden my parents began to erase all traces of Marty. Speaking honestly, it wasn't a big deal. My parents just began to dispose of anything Marty left in the house. The kids' room the two of us used became a room for one. The square table with the 4 chairs became a circular table for 3. It's not like it all happened at once, but to me it felt so sudden. That is kind of fucked up, isn't it? It's like I was an only child from the start. Those words were never said, but it always felt like I was hearing them. I'd moved on to my 3rd year of junior high, 9th grade. Not even a trace of Marty's existence remained for my parents. That's sad, man. Why would they do that? You. What? It was so sudden. I'd been ruminating on the past and had now been abruptly yanked back to the present. Having opened her eyes, the girl slowly sits up and looks at me. She's pressing on the injury on her head and seems to be in pain, but her eyes shines a great strength. It seems I'm in debt to you once more. Stop calling it debt or anything of the sort. I saved you because I wanted to, and I wasn't working alone. Huh? The girl continues to listen with a haughty attitude as I tell her about what happened with Kenji-san. I can't help but feel some admiration for someone like her who was able to maintain her typical attitude, even with such terrible injuries. I mean, acting like a jerk even when she's hurt. Being a jerk is so ingrained in her that that fucking facade is unshakable. The girl says nothing until I finish my story. I have a general idea of what you're saying. The girl slowly blinks her eyes once. After looking me in the eye, she turns away. Her cheeks have begun to turn red from the flow of blood. Although she normally speaks about everything so plainly, in a rare turn of events she seems to be chewing the corners of her mouth, searching for what she wants to say. After she slowly blinks once more, she returns her gaze to meet mine. Oh. Her voice is extremely soft. Huh? Unable to clearly make out what she said, I tilt my head. What'd you say just now? Nothing, it wasn't important. No, I'm curious, so tell me. Shut up, enough of the pushiness. Ah, tell me. Facing the girl who has fallen silent and averted her eyes from me, I continue to prompt her. She seems to be giving in, her broad, pouty expression finally giving way to a loud sigh. I said thank you. Any complaints? She folds her arms and looks away. You were able to thank me? You're way too rude. That's not something I want to hear from you. Stop calling me you, it's Sayo. Sakuragi Sayo. Sayo-chan? Well, Sayo-chan, you quit calling me you too. Got it? I got it. Mayumi. That's fine, isn't it? Now stop adding charm. I'm not a child. Thank you. It's kind of refreshing to be called Mayumi. Himeno, my parents, and everyone else seems to call me Mayu. But then, trying to have everyone call you by a nickname of your own choosing would also be weird. Still, is this alright? By saving me, your friend might die, Mayumi. What? You heard that? Somewhat. It doesn't matter. What will you do? Think of a way for her to not die? It's not that I'm abandoning Himeno after all. You're too optimistic, even when you have no idea what will happen. At Sayo's blunt assertion, I look at her and shake my head. The answer is in what you just said. Even if something happens, it won't be out of place. Even if everything goes well, that won't be out of place either. You're nitpicking. Why'd I have to be rescued by someone like you? Really, you're so rude. A laugh slips out in spite of my shock. The nervous tension that has stretched further and further over time feels as if it has finally loosened. Of course, that doesn't mean we can be careless. It's just that being able to talk to someone around my age in a safe place has given me a sense of calm. It's scary how consistently cold she's been, but she seems to be lightening up now. Sayo's way of speaking shows that her feelings have surely been stressing her out since she came here. Can I trust you, Mayumi? Huh? What do you mean? This is my situation. I don't know who I am, who or what I can trust here, sorry. That's why I want to get confirmation from you. If I can believe you, no matter what happens, I'll give you what you have to say precedence. Give what you have to say precedence. If you hadn't come, Mayumi, I would have died. It's frustrating, but it's also proof that I can't handle this on my own. You act with the intent to return home. You have determination. Mine wasn't strong enough. But with your resolve, I think I can believe in you. Sayo looks at me with a serious expression. It's not an expression of hate. When I look into Sayo's eyes, I can see a determination even deeper than mine. I get it. Trust me because I trust you. That's not enough. If we don't trust each other completely, we'll definitely falter. In response to Sayo's clipped words, I nod deeply. Okay, I promise. I know what she's trying to say, so I'm satisfied. So then, we're friends. That's a separate issue. Really, you aren't very sincere. I'm sure she's not satisfied, but the two of us have ended up in the same boat. A smile creeps onto my face, and I change the subject. Sayo has a sullen expression on her face. So I want to go ahead and talk to you about this. Sayo, why? How'd you end up almost getting killed by Sagi no Mareiko? Kenji-san had said that she was the criminal who had killed the director. Sayo wasn't surprised when she heard that piece of information, so she must have already known. Still, I can't imagine what sort of exchange took place between them that led to something like that. There was nothing normal about what happened here. She bashed Sayo's head so many times into that hard aquarium glass. It was a different fear to what I felt when Kenji-san went crazy. I wanted to understand what could make someone show that side of themselves. You already know that she's the criminal who killed Papa, right? Sayo was emphasizing this information, so I returned my gaze to her in response. If so, then this will go quicker. She, Sagi no Mareiko, is already dead. She's dead? My voice seems to be twisted. It's so sudden I can hardly believe it, even though Sayo was able to touch her. I refuse to believe this information, since if she were a ghost, she wouldn't be able to be touched by anything. As if to soothe the doubts that spring up in my moment of shock, Sayo continues in a warning tone. I don't know the principle behind it. However, within this red Manten Aquarium, Saginuma has continued to exist for the past 5 years since that incident. It's just she can't exist anywhere but within this place. There are many facts that support that theory. First of all, her outer appearance hasn't changed at all in 5 years. From the Sagi no Mareiko in my memories, she isn't aging. She was an acquaintance? That shouldn't be surprising. I am the director's daughter, and she was the employee of the aquarium. We've spoken before. Sayo dispassionately moves the conversation along. She was a little bewildered at first, but she realized who I was. Even though over 5 years has passed since we met, something about her has transcended time. This is just speculation, but she won't leave here. Just as that Hiyoshi guy told you. It's not that one can't get out of here. Sagi no Mareiko doesn't even seem to have considered leaving this place. Still, because there is no nourishment or anything here, one can't lead a life. It doesn't seem like someone could really continue to live in a place where bizarre phenomena occur for 5 years. That's to say, nothing of the fact that she's so calm, even after losing her life. Speaking of which, when she appeared before Himeno and I on the stage, she said she was looking for a child. She has some lingering attachment. You've probably heard of vengeful spirits. Sagi no Mareiko is probably that sort of ghost. The child she is looking for is likely the one who witnessed her murdering the director 5 years ago. I drew in my breath with a gulp. Because it was in relation to the director, I had hoped the child in question was Sayo. But that was nothing more than wishful thinking. I have a feeling I know exactly who the child is. Marty, yeah. That must be Marty. So Marty must also be like Sagi no Mareiko then. Sayo blinks and then responds. She seems to be unable to decide whether she should tell me the truth or not. But contrary to Sayo's doubts, I have resolved myself to accept the truth. It's alright, I trust you, so I can accept it. Have you forgotten our promise? You talk too much. Brushing her bangs aside, Sayo's eyes stare intently into mine. The little girl you saw is already dead. The reason she looks the same is because her appearance is the same as when she died. Right. She was probably drawn to those of us still living and showed herself to us. We possess corporeal bodies, which are very rare here. The phenomenon that takes place in this version of Manten Aquarium must operate under the same principle. There is the fact that the orca and frogs directly attacked us and broke things to consider. Before Sayo can finish telling me everything, I tell her my own hunch. The spirits here in this Manten Aquarium are trying to pull us in too, but Marty was definitely different. Sagi no Mareiko was as well. The human souls are maintaining their own will. I'm sure that's why they're different when it comes to the issue of trying to pull us in. Sayo continues with a, and then. When I spoke with Sagi no Mareiko, I realized that she was already dead, so I threw that fact back at her. She became frenzied after that. Surely her desire to pursue and kill that child is all that remains within her, leaving out the realization that she's already dead. So in other words, she can't accept that she passed away herself. Probably. But my words seem to have awakened some doubts in her mind. Perhaps next time we meet, she may be more in touch with her place as a resident of the world of the dead, or she may just try to drag me all the way with her. If it were me, I'd probably see it the same way. Alright, we need to wrap this one up here, because we have... I had to skip a lot, but I'm pretty sure we must be over half an hour by now. So we're going to wrap it up here. I think we've got a long way to go still to get to the true end anyway, because there's no more skipping. It's all new now. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.